Hey guys, welcome to Multitaskr. I'm Joe Frausto, CEO and founder of Multitaskr, a marketplace where we unite homeowners and the best service providers in your area. But today I want to welcome you to our podcast. It's called the Home Solutions Network Podcast, and we're going to be introducing the top service providers, clients that have used our marketplace, and some of the people that direct this company, and very exciting stories. The goal of the podcast is to save you time, save you money, give you insights, give you tips, and create value for your home. So come on in and let's check it out. Hello everyone, welcome back to Multitaskr's Home Solution Network Podcast, a marketplace where we unite homeowners and service providers. Today I'm sitting down with Miguel Aldrete, real estate agent of Coldwell Banker Royal Realty, and not just a realtor to me. He's more, I met this young man a couple years ago. I was impressed with his resume, and he'll share that with you guys. But that's the main reason I wanted to invite him. He is also a realtor, and we're going to talk about how we're going to team up and a couple of things that we're doing. But Miguel, thank you for joining us today. So our listeners can get to know you a little bit better, and I don't have to brag about you. Share with us who's Miguel Ángel and why are you here?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, first of all, for having me. And I'm super excited to be a part of this vision and this dream that you guys are building here. So just a little bit of background about myself. I ended up getting into real estate when I was about 16 years old, but there were a lot of events that kind of led up to it. And it all started back when I was in first grade. So back then, I was always seeing the example of my parents that were giving back, right? So my dad had a nonprofit aside from his day job where he helps cancer patients in Mexico. And I would always go down there from a really young age and see, other kids my age that were going through a hard time. And that kind of instilled that value of giving back no matter what we do, no matter what industry we're in. It's always a priority in my family. But seeing that example was also a big, not only to instill that value, but to see that anything could be possible, right? So when I was in first grade, I learned about deforestation. And at that time, I knew I needed to do something about it. My hero was Steve Irwin, and, I watched all the animal shows and everything like that. So I knew I needed to do something about it. I was only 8 years old, so not much I could do. But I was so naive back then that, just go for it, right? So I started recycling cans and bottles and raising some money to plant trees. And that ended up leading to my nonprofit called Kids for Our World. So the original idea was to plant 1,000 trees, and people saw what I was doing. I got, local politicians involved and other nonprofits that kind of backed me up. And I started my nonprofit, Kids for Our World, that now has 16,000 trees planted in 8 different countries. And we've been able to fly out and kind of see some of those projects and works firsthand in some of those projects over the years. So that's pretty much the biggest project that took up most of my life and my short life. That's the biggest project that we had.
So that's Kids for Our World.
That's Kids for Our World.
Is that still live?
Yes. And right now, the biggest thing that we're doing is I started realizing, I was really passionate about the environment, but there were other students that were passionate about different things. So what we do is we connect high schoolers with local nonprofits of different avenues, right? If some students interested in sport, there's nonprofits that we've partnered with that help, challenge athletes and stuff like that. So that's kind of the main vision on where we're at, and still a lot of funds through real estate get donated straight back into the tree planting efforts. So that's kind of where we're at. And around that time, I said I started off recycling cans and bottles. That was the original way I knew how to make money. I didn't know how to make money any other way. But when I was 10 years old, I ended up writing and publishing my first book. And a lot of that, again, is because my dad never told me no. He said, hey, whatever you want to do, just go for it and we'll figure out a way to do it. So I published that first book. And once I started selling those books, I realized I don't have to be recycling cans and bottles. I can use the proceeds from the books to plant the trees. So for every book sold, we donated money to plant 10 trees. And that's really where the nonprofit really took off, because now we had a lot of funding and a more consistent stream of income than me, squishing cans and bottles every weekend. That ended up evolving to now 3 books published, and now I spend, aside from real estate, my time split in two, in real estate and the Change the World program. And what that is we go into high schools and we go and share this message that you don't have to be an adult or famous to make a difference, right? In your teenage years, whatever you want to do, we give you the resources, the steps, connect you with the right people to make sure you bring those projects to fruition at a young age. You don't have to wait until after you graduate college or until you're 30 years in the industry to actually go out and do something. And what I wanted to do with the audience is share a little video of what that looks like in a school and what we're trying to promote, not only here in San Diego, but across borders as well.
Awesome. Let's do it.
How do you manage your time?
What's the best advice a mentor gave you?
My question is, how do you deal with failure or rejection?
You think anyone can change the world no matter what they've been through?
GPA, are you ready to change the world?
I felt like I was kind of limited to certain things, and now with his words of encouragement and his inspiring words, I feel like I can do a lot more.
Last but not least, turn to your neighbor and say, I will change the world.
I'm going to definitely go through his book, fill that out before college, just so I have a pathway that I can pursue and just be successful.
You all received a Change the World book. Now, similar to a GPS, you plug in where you want to go. It doesn't tell you where to go. You plug in where you want to go, and it shows you the steps to get there. Right? But it was that motivation, it was that drive, it was that passion. You need to turn your dreams into goals first. Stop saying I wish, start saying I will.
I couldn't really think about what I had in mind yet. After I started going, all these ideas started to clear up in my head.
Every school should reach out and find their Miguel and bring them in to help inspire the youth.
GPA, let's change the world!
Well, thank you for sharing, Miguel. So tell me a little bit about that. What school was that? Was that in San Diego?
Yeah, so that school is actually Gompers Prep, and they're a charter school. They're super innovative, and I think it's one of the favorite speeches that I've ever given because when I went in, we had the mic check and the sound check the night before, and they ended up, putting on a show. So that was super fun, and we've done that both here. We've done that with over 30,000 students to date in the past 2 years. So
That's awesome.
So it's super fun.
Only in San Diego, or you've done it in different schools?
No, so the majority is here in San Diego, but we have had a few presentations in Mexico City and Costa Rica and Colombia. And because I speak both languages, I see that there is a lot of people that do something similar here in the US, but there's a big kind of absence of that in Latin America. So, there's a big opportunity to kind of share and promote this message in both languages, both English and Spanish.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, you can keep doing that because I know that's one of your passions, right? When you tell me, so.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my biggest passion. Like I said earlier, my time's right now kind of split in between both, but real estate pays the bills, and these presentations is what really is fulfilling and exciting, and why I wake up every morning.
Yeah, awesome. I know you did a TEDx as well, right?
Yeah.
Was it sort of the same message, or?
Yeah, so in the TEDx, and it's super interesting because I give this message is very kind of similar at every school I give. It's very structured on how the presentation goes, the workshops that we do, the activities that we do, and I presented this message to TED, and they said, yes, we like your story. Like you can give they accepted me into the presentation. But they said what you had planned to speak about, completely scratch that, right? So they partnered me up with a speaking coach, and I think it was one of the most difficult ones because instead of sharing the 10 years in 1 hour. They focus on a 5-minute moment that you remember and try to make that into a whole presentation. So,
Wow.
and what lessons you learn from that, 5-minute moment. So it was really interesting, different, but I think it definitely improved my ability to kind of share what I've done.
Cool. Awesome. Well, nonprofit, 3 books, TEDx, and now real estate, right? So why real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I mentioned, the biggest message I share is you don't have to be an adult or famous to make a difference in the world, right? And for me, I was looking at different careers that I wanted to do in college when I was in high school. So I started interning at a lot of different places, both in politics, sales, marketing, nonprofit space, all these different things. And a lot of them were, when you're a junior in college, you can get, your first paid internship, and then you go through your master's program, and then you go through this, and eventually you'll start actually doing the career that you had planned. And when I interned in the real estate field, I was 16 at the time, and they said, well, you can work here until you turn 18, then you can get your license, and really your success is up to you. The sky's the limit, right? So the fact that I can jump into the career, learn about it, get hands-on at a young age was exactly what I was looking for. And once I did, I was hooked, right? So that's kind of what brought me into real estate. And I got my license when I was 18 while I was still in high school. And now it's been 2 years and I'm loving it, I'm loving what it has to offer.
That's awesome. And what's right now that you've been in real estate for 2 years, what type of projects do you like working on the most right now?
Yeah, I think actively, the biggest thing that I'm kind of getting more involved on is the commercial space, but on a smaller scale. So there's this kind of niche in between, right in between the big boy commercial space and the retail everyday real estate agent, right? So most real estate agents, they get their license. Some of them are doing it part-time and they sell a couple condos here and there and, basic real estate stuff. And then there's the commercial side where a lot of the players in the commercial space are only looking at deals that are 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, which I'm not there yet, right? But there's this space right in between of 2 to 4 unit properties, which I find extremely interesting. And I'm working with a couple of clients that are looking for something like that to build wealth, where it's your everyday, person that has their normal 9 to 5, but has enough assets saved up where they can, now look for another investment. And I don't think there's enough people in the industry that focus in that sweet spot right in between institutional investors and everyday investors. So I think that's a good market where I'm starting to focus on. And it's probably one of the most interesting ones.
That's nice. And why would people want to work with you? I mean, I know that, and I can relate to you being young. I didn't write 3 books, but but I started my first company when I was 21.
Okay.
21, 22, I don't remember. But I looked like I was 15. So I know that I always wanted to sound older. I wanted to seem older so people could take me seriously. Do you deal with that still right now? And what makes you different? Why would people want to deal with you as a realtor?
Yeah, I think definitely the first couple transactions that I did were the most difficult because and what I asked my broker is, hey, can I use your sales history as kind of mine as well, right? So everything would be, me and my team have done this, me and my team have done that. Even though, I was fully committed to getting the job done, there was, always that doubt in the client's mind of how much experience does this kid actually have, right? Now there's some sales history, so that definitely backs me up. And I think the biggest difference between me and your everyday, retail real estate agent is the fact that I've focused the past 2 years on building the relationship and knowledge of everything of real estate as a whole. Like I mentioned, there's a commercial side. There's now, the ADUs, there's the tax laws and, building these relationships with people like Multitaskr and people like, the organization of CPAs and people in the commercial space. So when a client comes to me, they're looking at all the different options, not just, hey, I want to buy a house. And is this the best option? I don't know. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? Have you thought of that? So now they have options to choose from instead of just, the original idea that they had in mind. And if that original idea ends up being the best, option for them, then we definitely go with that. But sometimes they don't know what they're not exposed to yet. So the fact that I've built the relationships network and meeting other people that, you know, have the experience and knowledge in all aspects of the industry is what makes me, you know, different.
Yeah, I agree. Being young is complicated because people don't want to take you seriously at first, but biggest thing is just doing it. And I know you're a doer. You've shown it with all the stuff that you already shared with us about. But secondly, I think the hunger and the drive that you have to serve others with the books you've written, with the nonprofit, you're going to carry that to your career and to who you are as a human being, you know? And so I think clients should know, and I think that would be the differentiator, that, hey, this kid's going to try to also help me because he's going to try hard and work hard to make sure he doesn't fail me as the realtor if I give him that responsibility, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
I definitely could see that. So what are the 3 questions you think a homeowner should ask a real estate agent? Let's say they don't know you, like, what should they ask? Why hire somebody else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if they're on the buyer side, especially right now with current market conditions, one is definitely understanding the experience of the realtor, right? Right now, if you're looking to purchase a property, it's very, very competitive. So number 2 is asking what's going to set us apart from the competition, right? So there's a lot of different terms when you're trying to negotiate a contract. You can either win the property by price, which is what most realtors will tell you to do. Hey, just pay $100,000 more than the other person and you're going to get it, right? But another one is really understanding the needs of the seller, because if they are moving out of town and they need more time, or if they're stuck in a, you know, contingency or a 1031 exchange or something, if you can accommodate to the needs, then maybe you can get a great deal, but just being more flexible on terms. So number 1 is understanding the experience of the realtor, and you can ask that question. Number 2 is what is going to set us apart, right, as a buyer right now. And then I think number 3 is don't be afraid to get your concerns and questions answered. I think a lot of people almost feel like they're supposed to know, but that's the whole reason you're entrusting this responsibility on someone, is every little thing, whether it's down payment, whether it's, you know, the insurance, whether it's how much, you know, monthly taxes is going to be, you know, all the documents that you're going to need. Don't be afraid to ask those little questions. That's for both sides. And then for the seller side, I think the biggest questions that you should be asking is how are they going to help you get to the end goal? And I always like to start with the end goal in mind, right? And once we know where we want to go, we can build the ladder to get there. But similar to some of the tips I was sharing with a few other people here today, is what is the end goal? Is it building wealth? Is it just finding a place for you and your family? Is it, you know, looking for cash flow or investment opportunities? What is that end goal 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line? Because most realtors just want to get that sale and they're done, right? But what does that, you know, decision right now, how does that impact you 10 years down the line? I think that's the biggest question you should not only ask the realtor, but ask yourself as well.
I agree. 100%. I think if you ask those questions to realtors, probably 80% are going to know how to answer that. So those are good questions. They're really good questions. That shows that you care. You know, I've always, people we tend to work with have that same mentality of wanting to educate, empower homeowners, future homeowners, and truly look out for their best interest, right? And not just try to sell them something. And that's one of the things that would always frustrate me in the real estate industry, was everybody was out there for the commission, just trying to sell, but not truly listening to the clients and understanding their needs and trying to give the best advice you could based on the outcome they wanted to accomplish a year, 2 years, 10 years from now, right? So
Exactly.
Agree. I think I was going to ask you what's the best advice, but I think you already said it. I mean, that kind of covered everything, you know, just listen, ask the tough questions to the realtor if that's who you're going to trust, right?
Yeah.
And there are some realtors that are really good at selling, but they might not have all the answers in regards to, like, you know, does it make sense for me to sell it at this current time or this other time? And so maybe you have to team up with another professional that knows whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. But yeah,
and that's one of the reasons, and what I mentioned earlier is why the relationships are so important, right? I can't be an architect, or, you know, I don't know everything about remodeling, or I don't know, you know, all the tax laws, but I have my team of CPAs that I work with. I have my team of people who fully focus on that. So that network and that team that I've built around this service that we provide for the client is what's most important.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So right now, you said the market is hot, which it is. There's certain theories, right, of why, and then certain theories why it might not be, et cetera, et cetera. But it is kind of complicated right now for a lot of clients to go buy a home or find a home. Either there's not enough housing, or just different things you're seeing out there. So what's the current landscape right now for let's focus on new home buyers for now, or people that are going to sell and buy a home? There's not enough housing out there from what I heard. I'm not a realtor, but from what I hear, what can you share?
Yeah, absolutely. So the current landscape is everything selling like immediately, right? So usually I kind of a timeline that I give for home sellers, like, hey, if you put your market on Thursday, by Monday, we're going to have it sold. Like, not because of any crazy marketing techniques that we're doing, but there's just so many factors in the market that have kind of created this environment. One of them is really low interest rates. So before, not everyone could qualify for that type of property. So that's driven the prices up, basic supply and demand, right? We have a lot of competition. Another thing that we're kind of looking at in the current landscape is the fact that the banks can't keep up with these values. And I know you've spoken to a few appraisers, and the appraisals that we're getting are low because we're looking at the past 6 months of sales history, where by next week, this property could be worth 10% more, right? But you have to use, different data. So I guess the biggest advice with the current landscape for a buyer is understanding your must-haves and your want-to-haves, right? So must-haves, things that can't be changed in a property. Number of bedrooms, the area, does it have backyard space or not? Those types of things that you need based on your family size, based on the schools that you go, based on your job, those things can't be changed. But a lot of times what we run into with buyers is they have this dream vision of a property in mind, and most of it includes their want-to-haves. The flooring that they have, the color scheme, the granite countertops, all of those things can be modified on a property over time. But core fundamental things like rooms and stuff like that cannot. So what I always recommend, and I always have my buyers, is fill out their must-haves versus their want-to-haves, and then whatever property we find must fit this checklist. And if it has some of these, then great. But if not, that's why we have those remodeling partners, those building partners that can do something else, right? And I think that's the biggest thing to understand is knowing, competition is tough. So knowing the things that you actually need in your property and focusing on that first.
Really good point. How do people react to that when you tell them that?
I think it kind of throws them off guard because, they do see the homes on, Zillow and Realtor, and they see one price, but what they don't understand is, there's 100 other people that are seeing that same thing. So while it might say 500,000, you check a month later and it actually sold for 550,000, right? But you didn't consider, that in the first place. But I think once they kind of see and get out there and see what it's like, and actually write it down. And a lot of times when it's an individual, it's really easy. When it's a family, some of the must-haves for one spouse is the want-to-haves for the other, and vice versa, right?
Exactly.
So that's when, that dialogue has to be had between the family.
Cool. You know what? Right now, it's a little side note, but based on what we do with the VR and the AR, because because of what you just said with the family having different points of views, what we do with the construction side is the whole experience of the VR works really, really well because they're able to visually see how things will look, right? And they can kind of change. We'll narrow it down to 2 or 3 options, and they could change it, and then they can decide, right? Not have to fight like, oh, I want this or I want that, and then the pricing will go tied to it. But you saying what you're saying, I think maybe there's something we can work on. We can talk off camera about maybe there's something where if a client is stuck on they want this house, but there's certain things that are not there, maybe we can work out a game plan to kind of visually see what it could look like with a price point to it, and then an actual game plan to get there, right? And so now you're creating value where there isn't that value in their visually yet, but we can get them there, right? Because it is complicated to educate consumers, but at the end of the day, it always wins out. When clients know that you truly want to help them, at first they might, like you said, they'll be surprised that you're so direct and you're so like, let's see it as what it is, right?
Yeah.
But then once they know they can trust you, like they'll take your guidance and you'll go from there. So right now, like you said, you can put a house on the market, it'll sell in a couple of days. So that's why, not just in California, but California right now is the one pioneering. That's why I think ADUs are being such a hot point right now, because there's a shortage of housing. Rents are skyrocket as well. And so when suddenly clients go, oh, wait a minute, I could actually build an additional dwelling unit in my home, or I can buy this home and put an extra ADU, or I have this house or this duplex and I can add more units and I can rent. It's a win-win for everybody, right? You create more housing, people can rent something more accessible, and you can create extra streams of income. So here in the Multitaskr, this year we're calling it the golden year of the ADU, just because we saw so much traction at the end of last year. And we know that this year is going to be a very interesting year, not just for us, but for the ADU side of the industry for this year throughout California. Other states are starting to really start looking into it now too. But I know as a realtor that, I mean, we've known each other for a couple of years, but I know you reached out to me and you said, hey, I've been seeing all the stuff that you guys are doing. I have clients that would want to know more about adding ADUs. Like, what caught your attention about ADUs, and what do you think is going to happen right now with the market, and what's the upside of the ADU industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's very clear, benefits, like you said, for a client to add an ADU to their existing property, right? Mm-hmm. So I have a few clients that are considering that. One is obviously an immediate increase to your property's value. What might take you 4 or 5 years to gain an appreciation, you can do it instantly in a 6 to 8 month period, right? So that is obvious. The second one, obviously having another stream of income for the homeowners, like you mentioned, that's huge. And then on the buyer side, this is another one of those things where we mentioned, the must-haves and the want-to-haves. So there are homeowners that, or investors that are, have built up some wealth or some equity in their current properties and are looking for, that next step. And for a lot of them, from going from a condo to a duplex is that next step. Now, can they afford a duplex with current market conditions? It becomes really, really tough when you're looking at just transferring money from one to the other, not only because of what they're seeing the prices, but because of all the competition as well. And the fact that there's so little of those properties out there. So another thing that caught my eye to, like I said, present another option to these clients is, hey, what if we bought a single family home that had a space for an ADU, right? What if we bought a single family home and converted the garage into an ADU? Now they have, that other eye-opening experience of maybe I can get something for half the price and it provides, the same result that I'm looking for. Or even if it's the same price, at least you're not competing with 100 other people that want the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what caught my eye. And we met a couple years ago, and this ADU is a new thing that you guys are working on. And one of the biggest things that I see, of value that Multitaskr brings, not one is that VR and enhanced, experience where a homeowner that didn't have that option in mind can actually tangibly see what it's going to be. And number two is the knowledge, speaking to some people that work here, of the permits, the zoning, all of that stuff. That's really a big question for these clients is it even possible? Because if they buy that first property and, they had the idea that, hey, it has a big backyard, let's add an ADU, and then it's not, now it becomes, a pretty difficult decision to back out on, versus if someone already understands, hey, this is exactly what it takes to make it happen. That's where I saw personally, and I reached back out after a couple of years of knowing what you guys are doing, is, hey, this is huge. This is huge for a lot of homeowners and a lot of smaller investors that want to get into the multifamily and commercial space.
Awesome. Yeah, and basically what you said earlier about having your team, that's really the main thing about Multitaskr. It's we're trying to create the perfect marketplace to where we grab the experts in every area and then we simplify it for anyone to be able to get all that knowledge in one place, right? And so we try to include the knowledge of someone who's been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years, plug them into what we're doing, grab that pretty much out of their head, put it in the marketplace, and then eventually tie it all in with technology, right? And so I think that's one of the things that most clients are loving, the fact that they can come here and literally from A to Z, we can do everything, right? Yeah. Realtors, that's been one of the pieces that we haven't added because I haven't really been focused so much on the buying and selling part. It's been mainly focused on, okay, I have the house, now what, right? But what caught my attention even before you reached out was a lot of people that were interested in buying a home were starting to reach out to us. And we're saying like, hey, I'm thinking of buying this house. Should I buy it? Can I build an ADU, or can I do this, or can I do that? Can I convert the garage? Like, what can I do, right? And so I started seeing it as, oh, okay, this could be something where I can bring in realtors we want to work with that have the same ethics, same morals, same drive of educating consumers, of truly being part of this platform, utilizing it for their benefit, and making it a win-win for everyone, right? Because if we back you up, just like you said, I have my CPAs and I have this. If you have Multitaskr behind you and you have all these experts in all these areas, well, that's going to empower you more, right?
Exactly.
And so, yeah, when you reached out, I said, wonderful. That's someone that I know who he is, and I know that we're going to click once he sees what we're building, right? And be able to bring that to your clients, and not just for current homeowners, bring it to future homeowners as well, right?
Yeah.
Or even current that want to create income and then buy something else. I mean, sky's the limit. There's so many things you can do, but agreed. So in regards to ADUs for homeowners, what are the benefits right now that you see? Let's say that they did buy the house. What would be the main benefit, right? You said, okay, value, but what are the benefits you think for adding an ADU? Is it just the value? Is it renting? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, value is kind of the immediate thing that they see on paper, right? And coming the more it's done, the more, the county will recognize the appraisal values and everything like that. The other big thing is the cash flow, right? So you're coming into a property, right? You buy, let's just say $500,000 house, in an area where there's a good amount of land, right, that comes with that. You're paying maybe $3,000 a month, right? Now you add the ADU and you cut your monthly expenses, in half. Sure. Through the renter. Mm-hmm. So this, instead of, I mean, that's just such an easy way where every single month you're seeing the benefit of the money coming in that makes this, the living expenses a lot more affordable. And seeing some of the projects that you guys have worked on, not even, one ADU might not even be it, right? There's a lot of other options on, hey, maybe we can make this a place where you can live in your house without a mortgage payment because of all the renters that are really paying for you. Mm-hmm. And that really empowers your everyday homeowner, right? Because before, and similar to what we're seeing with the stock market, right? Before, institutional investors that have the capital can come out and create these opportunities for themselves. And that was so far-fetched for your everyday homeowner. Mm-hmm. Now, what Multitaskr is doing with these ADUs, it's empowering any homeowner to really have the ability to take their, finances and put them in their own hands.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's the intention, right? Making homeownership easier. That's really what it comes down to. And I think the teaming up with the right realtor that has the right ethics, that truly wants to help out homeowners to make it easier for them to buy or sell a home. You team up with a platform that wants to make owning a home easier, then it's the win-win situation, yeah. Right? Yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing the big picture when it comes to ADUs. I think in the realtor world, based on our conversation, I'm getting like 20 million ideas as we're talking, because I think there's so many tools that we can use it where we can create a win-win. Mm-hmm. from educating homeowners, future homeowners, on other possibilities, not just the ADU. There could be things that you could do to the home, but integrating the visual with the financing, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm definitely excited to see where the relationship will go, Miguel. And I know that I want you to be the first realtor that really integrates what we're doing, because I know that you truly want to help out the homeowner and you do want to change the world, as you say. Yeah. And our intention with Multitaskr is to change the way people look at the real estate in the United States. And so I'm excited to have you here. I don't know if you want to add anything else to our listeners, any comments, any tips that you would want to add in regards to just real estate itself. And I'll leave it there, and then I'll thank you for being here on this podcast. So I'll leave it to you right now.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, Multitaskr is being so innovative in the real estate industry. And this is something that people that have been in the industry for 30 years maybe don't want or may have not captured because they're so used to their ways of doing things. But Multitaskr is coming in here and, like I said earlier, empowering the homeowner. So whether you're thinking about doing an ADU, whether you're thinking about a remodel, whether you're thinking about solar or all of these things, instead of going to all these third-party companies, you come to one place and it's all there. So I think what you guys are doing is amazing. I'm excited to see the vision from what it was 2 years ago to now. I mean, it's incredible. So if you haven't checked it out already, which I'm assuming if you're on this podcast, you either know me or you are familiar with Multitaskr. But if of anyone that's coming through me, go check out their website and see what they're doing because, it's game changing.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. And if you need a realtor, guys, use Miguel. Wonderful guy. He's going to work super hard for you if you need to sell, if you need to buy. But the biggest thing is he's going to educate you and he's going to help you and he's going to truly listen to you and will want to work with you to get to that end goal you want to get to. And he's going to have Multitaskr to have his back. So we're just going to empower him more. So thank you for joining us today, guys, at the Multitaskr Home Solutions Network podcast. And thank you to our listeners. We hope you enjoyed learning from Miguel. His exciting life so far. He's only 22 years old, right? 20 years old. Oh my God. I don't know why I thought he was 21 or 22 years old. So there you go. 20 years old, wrote 3 books, nonprofit, TEDx. But now he's in real estate. We're going to help you, empower you to empower more people. And hope you enjoyed today's episode. And we will see you on the next episode, guys. Take care. And now our guest will experience Multitaskr's virtual reality platform. Let's start off with the conference in the back. So go to the back of the white wall. So you're a little bit more of a pro because we're actually here. So we're gonna tell you played with it a little bit, but I'm gonna illustrate with you what's gonna be possible with you as a realtor with this. This is going live to clients in next month. So for example, here, you'll be able to actually meet up with clients and you can actually educate them through like a video, like if they're looking at a conference, right? So you can use that. And then you can walk them through either the bathroom or the kitchen or in the backyard, the ADU, right? Okay. So let's say you have a client that wants to buy a house and maybe they can't see how things are gonna look, or they actually want to upgrade to a different kitchen or a different bathroom. Or they're even thinking about maybe adding an ADU to the backyard or doing some upgrades to the backyard. You will be able to utilize the showroom to change things and kind of go to the look and taste that they want. And it'll even have pricing tied to the zip code, like a range of pricing, a range of financing for it. So it'll be a really good tool for you as a realtor to educate your clients into what's possible or even into what's already there that maybe can be upgraded, right? So if you want to walk around and kind of see what I'm talking about.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And you can even, I know you'll have ideas as a realtor what else you can do with this, right? But
yeah, I don't have to go drive around and do showings anymore.
Yeah. So that's the kitchen. And you'll be able to switch the layouts and the look and all that. Like I said, we should be good to go next month.
Wow. So a client can see, if let's just say they're buying an older property, but it's because, their budget or something like that, but they have this vision of what they want to do in the future.
Correct.
They would come here to a showroom or through their own VR system, right?
Correct. They can actually see this in their computer as well.
Really?
It's called a web VR. Okay. So you could see it. It's not the same as actually putting on the VR experience. Yeah, you actually feel like you're walking in there. That's crazy. But you could use your phone or your desktop to do it as well. So people do it on the phone or desktop when we're testing right now with some clients, and they love it that way. But then when they actually come here and they see it with the VR, it's a complete different experience.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to help a client that hasn't considered the ADU option to see what it could be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you know, our goal is to educate them on all the options that they have available and then have them, you know, make a decision. I think this definitely facilitates that decision.
Hey guys, thank you for joining Multitaskr's Home Solution Network podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please click on subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our next podcasts. Remember, every single podcast, we're going to give you different advice on how to save time, how to save money, and how to create value. Check us out at gomultitaskr.com. Click subscribe.